everybody, my name's Paula. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. Hello. Our YouTube community is small but mighty, so if you haven't yet, I would love and appreciate a subscribe if you would like to, a hitting of the bell. This video is a direct response to one of you guys who commented last week on my how to reparent yourself video, actual tips for reparenting yourself in the moment, no matter where you are. This video is all about grief. It's about how to recognize when you're kind of secretly grieving. This is a big one for me. I didn't realize, but for about 1.5 years now, I have been in grief when I thought I just was in this kind of constant rumination state. So let's talk about when rumination is actually like a drip tap version of grief and how to let the tap flow safely. And I'll show you a couple of little somatic tips, ways that I help my sad energy actually come out and not get overwhelmed in the story of it all, because that is oftentimes, when it comes to our grief, it's the weight of the story that's attached to it. Because I mean, come on, grief is massive. It's the weight of the story that can make it seem like an emotion we should just avoid forever, and then so many of us just drag this really heavy weight on our hearts, sometimes manifesting as a literal pain in our chests and our throats and our mouths for years, decades, the rest of our lives. So if we don't let ourselves really emote, that stuff hides somewhere, that energy hides somewhere. The energy of the emotional body goes somewhere in the physical body when it doesn't get its due time. So let's talk about, some of you guys will know that you're grieving, so if you're here for that, I'm gonna tend to you very, very soon. For any of you guys who experience a lot of rumination, I want to speak to you for a little bit first. So near the beginning of quarantine, I lost a couple of relationships. One was a very close friend, the other was a partner. And in the 18-ish months that have followed since March 2020, I can't even remember what time is anymore, I've been having cyclical thoughts daily, like hourly, minutely, thoughts about these individuals. And even looking back before these relationships fell apart, I realized I would do this with anyone who was maybe a friend, a partner, anyone who I had to walk away from, make the choice to leave, set a boundary, whatever. Things just didn't work out. Anytime I leave someone, I grieve it, but I have very rarely allowed myself to grieve it fully, with full permission, and instead I ruminate. So I think those cyclical thoughts daily, hourly, minutely, constantly. If any of you guys relate to that, it'll be thoughts about how could I have done very specific scenarios differently. It'll be thoughts about, I wonder how they're doing right now, wishing them well, wishing them not so well, like vengeful thoughts, regretful thoughts. It's the whole gamut. Like, some of it's not stuff I'm proud of. Some of it is, you know, me thinking like, oh, they're probably in so much pain without me. Oh, they're probably in so much pain, like sitting there in their wound and their sadness and like, blah, blah, that kind of super judgmental thought. That stuff happens. This is the kind of stuff that happens when we don't give full permission to ourselves to really feel the driving emotional cause of the rumination. So, if any of you guys have repeated thoughts, this also actually applies to anxiety a lot of the time. In general, any thought loop that just will not quit for you, I encourage you, just for a moment with me right now, we're going to step away from the content of the thought, but I want you to still keep the thought right here. And for me, I actually imagine the thought like a wheel. Sometimes there's visuals associated with it. I might literally see people's faces, literally see the scenario. If you don't have a visual mind, it's all good. Conjure up even some of the emotions, like 10% of the emotions, we don't want to go all the way in, that are associated with these thought loops. And just recognize them, like they're here all the time. I want to know from these thought loops, and I would love for you to literally ask this big wheel right now, do you have a message for me? Is there something you want me to know? And I want this message from the thought loop ideally to be about like one sentence, super, super short. And it might start with the prompt, what I want you to know is blank. So my thought loop will say, what I want you to know is I'm in pain. What I want you to know is I'm really freaking sad about how these relationships ended. What I want you to know is I really tried to love you, and I feel like it failed. And I feel so rejected, so heartbroken because it failed. What I want you to know is all I wanted to do was love and be loved. And it scares me that maybe I didn't do that right. Maybe I fucked up. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I hurt people. Maybe I'm hurting. And maybe I need to be supported there. So just sit with that for a minute, and I'm already kind of gliding into the somatics. Tapping is something that comes really, really instinctively to me. Try it out now if you'd like. If any emotions are coming up, I want you to go to the spot on your body that feels like it's culling up the most dominant sensation right now. Just tap it. I always get it right in the sternum. Sometimes I can follow it all the way up my throat, my jaw. I love working with the chakras with folks. So when we're grieving, of course it's the heart, and of course a lot of times if we're not used to letting our emotions out healthfully, it's the throat chakra. Self-expression. Shake it out if you need to. Now, if tapping doesn't feel right, if like more of a soft touch works, that's great too. If you guys are finding tears, if we've gotten to some really deep root, because if you really sit with the prompt that says, what I want you to know is I just tried to love you. I just wanted to love you. That can be a really emotional revelation for a lot of folks. So we're getting to the subtext of these wheels of thought, these ruminations. So if something really deep is shifting in you, maybe it's in your stomach, it can be anywhere at all. It just helps to kind of sit with the sensations, acknowledge them. Your physical body loves to be acknowledged along with your emotional body. They work together, they communicate. And your physical body is nice and neutral. It doesn't make stories, it just is. It just has sensation, just like your emotional body just has emotional energy. And your emotional energy will start to spin itself into tails in order to get noticed by you. Because sometimes it has to, because we don't live in a society that lets us emote very frequently or very healthfully. A lot of us just don't have these skills. So we live trapped up in the ego story, which is a symptom of a pent-up emotional body. And it's okay. It's not your fault that this got pent up. Not whatsoever. We're just digging right now. And just following with maybe those nice stroking motions. Go anywhere that feels good. Some of us even might just feel a release in the head, back of the neck, lower brain, more so the reptilian brain, the instinctual brain. Just a release. And so if tears are coming for you with your grief, let them come. And what really helps, because it's our tendency when we're stuck in a story to hunch over, to trap our tears, to hide. What's really, really healing, just encourage your chest to stay open. So sometimes when I'm crying really hard, and yes, it takes practice to kind of stay, this is like trying to stay with your head above water while the ocean and the storms of tears are coming through. You're perfectly okay. I want you to stay grounded. And I actually clasp my hands behind my back. It takes a bit of shoulder flexibility, but ensures that your sternum, everything stays open, and I actually look up. And this helps me remember. I'm not particularly religious, but obviously I'm spiritual. So anything, any concept, any visual, I have a little stick in my eye right now. Anything that feels supportive to you, just let it come and help you. Deep breaths, letting any tears pass through you, feeling the openness in your chest, almost like the sensations are just draining out. That's what we want. So you can keep tapping, but I want you to keep the sternum open. Almost as if someone is supporting you from the back of the spine and pushing you up towards the ceiling or the sky, wherever you are. Breathing through, letting everything drain out. I really like to, with tears, because tears are so symbolic, so beautiful, the literal washing away of the deep emotional energy. They are so cleansing, so let them come out. Imagine like there is kind of a drain, a washing down of all the stagnation. Letting tears come through, and you know what's really important, and if you have a safe place, maybe you have to grab a pillow for this, but let out a wail. Let that throat chakra open. If there's any words that are coming right now, slow yourself down, but let them be spoken. So I don't want you to get into that place of being really activated and really, really kind of scaring yourself with the story. Sometimes we get very panicky. We might hunch over and say like, I'm sorry. We might get there. I want you instead stay open. This is another move I like to do. And as you vocalize, if you vocalize, speak slow. I tried to love you. I'm sorry. Breathing, staying with me. I miss you. I wish you were here. And maybe just speaking about any other elements of your experience. Can you feel the presence of this person? Acknowledge them out loud. Say, I feel you. I feel your support. Anything at all that feels right. If anger is coming out, anger is a massive part of grief. Let that come out. Again, if you need a pillow, control the waves of feeling that come out. And so I want you to give yourself a countdown, a 1, 2, 3, and then a screaming release. This is how we remain as the objective host of our emotional release experience. So we're not going fully into our big emotional mode. We're regulating, we're helping ourselves slow down the process. We want to like see everything coming through. We want to go at a pace where the brain can really process what the body is feeling, the sensations. We want all of these things to be as congruent, as slow as possible. So if rage is coming through, that's okay. Let it come out. 1, 2, 3. We might have a lot of why me? Why me? I didn't deserve this. And if it feels good, like get up with me. Shake it out. Stamp your feet. I really, really like to like move my arms like this, almost like a monkey. You can pretend you're clearing off a table. You'll notice like the tears, the anger, everything comes at the same time. So if you're standing up with me right now, just slightly bouncing, the balls of my feet are on the ground, heels are moving, letting ourselves go. I want you to stay in whatever form of release feels good for as long as you need. But just like the good parent we are to ourselves, whenever we're finished, I would love for you to come back to grounding. Coming back to that breath. Ideally, we never leave our breath through the process, but sometimes we do. It's okay. If it feels good to sit, go ahead. And I want you to just feel the surfaces underneath you. So right now for me, that's the earth. Still standing up, but feeling that pull of gravity. Oh, noticing the sensations that you moved around. So we're not looking for a particular goal here. We're not looking to have moved all of the chest heaviness, nothing like that. Maybe you're seeing or you're feeling shifts. Maybe you got mental images, messages like verbal messages or maybe sensation-based messages that you hadn't experienced before. That is what we're looking for, just anything. Whatever comes up is perfect. We're just doing a better job at processing it, at articulating it. Moving nice and slow. I want whatever motions you still feel like you need to do to go so slow. I really encourage people to take a long time to ground themselves after a somatic release. Right now I'm just following my hands with my eyes. And you might think, oh, that makes me so dizzy. Go even slower. What I'm doing here is softening the movements of my body, and I'm also softening my gaze. You'll see that I use this technique in one of my other videos. Tips for calming your triggers in the moment. We're coming back into the density of the physical world. Come back to our bodies, but in this slow, soothing, kind of reparenting way. Literally just feeling ourselves back. You might feel like there's tingling in your hands or your feet. Stiffness. Just loving touch. Take a nice long time to really reorient yourself after you've done emotional movement like this. Some people like to journal after. You can do anything that feels right. You might want to just lie down and absorb for a little bit in total stillness. But these are some of the somatic ways that I actually get out some of the pent-up energy, which for me often starts in my chest when it comes to grief specifically. But I want to reassure you that your grief belongs, that all of its elements, because sometimes there's more than just tears in there. A lot of times what we're really, really shoving down is the anger, because anger socially is so unacceptable. It makes us look so out of control, so undesirable to everybody around us, so we think. So let this be maybe your first interaction with conscious anger release as well, because grief it's a lot like jealousy. I think grief and jealousy are the two mind states that are so controlled by many, many different root emotions. That's why they feel so damn big, it's so damn heavy. It's okay to be afraid of them. As long as we do also know that there is nothing to really be afraid of. We just gotta go slower so we can process everything. There is a mixed bag inside of your grief. So if anything is coming up, any shifts, yes, I totally encourage you to journal about it, write it out. Some folks just like to do a visualized meditation after this. Some people just like to let it process in its due time and go back to living their life. So whatever works for you. I hope that this makes sense and helped to move something out with you guys. Please leave comments below if any of these tips did help, if you have questions about how to apply them, or if you have experiences that you would like to share if you did try it. And if any of you guys relate to rumination as maybe a drip tap symbolic of grief that needs to be just let out and seen, let me know if that was also helpful. Now, I love to take questions from you guys specifically, so if you have topics you'd like me to tackle, if you would like to see a video on something specific, I would be honored to make it for y'all. I want to start a nice little community here. So my name is Paula. To reiterate once again, I do one-on-one coaching for folks with complex trauma or maybe childhood trauma. So if you're interested in the one-on-one experience with me, the link will be down below. And I also I'm on Instagram a whole lot too. If you want to join me there, I do lives there sometimes. I do a lot of writing there. So if you're interested in the somatic approach to healing your symptoms of CPTSD, if you're interested in neuroplasticity, I also do shadow work. I also love parts therapy. There's lots of different routes in that I take with folks through my coaching practice. So get in touch, comment away. I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I'll be back soon with more videos.